And we're here.
Hello! La la la. Hello, welcome. It is Thursday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and there's always discussion about, it's what you call like an early production meeting before you go live. I think we cleared the air. Are we good?
Sure, we're good.
Jen has eyeliner on tonight.
I have eyeliner on every single night that we've ever done a podcast, but thanks for noticing.
Oh. Well, it looks...
That's okay, because I got highlights in my hair last week and nobody noticed until yesterday. And finally, Jason's like, hey, did you change your hair? I'm like, yeah, a week ago, but nobody noticed. Nobody noticed.
I just said that you're, well, anyway, I think Jen looks...
Okay, whatever. I look the same as I always look. You just don't notice. But anyway.
I was trying to pay a compliment. I'm saying you do look nice.
Thank you.
The audience, let Jen know that she looks nice.
I seriously don't. I do the best I can to not look like a
audience,
crone.
Please let Jen know that she looks terrible.
No
matter what she tries to do, she'll just be...
I'm just saying, you know, I'm at the age where it's like, you don't... I'm somewhere between young and hag, and it's kind of like this really awkward, you know what it is? It's an awkward age for middle-aged women, because it's like, I can't wear Forever 21, but I'm not quite into Chicos. So it's like, where are we supposed to go? Where are we supposed to go? So I have a uniform. Anyone knows me, I have a uniform. I wear the same cargo pants. I have them in every color. I wear them every day with basically a sleeveless t-shirt. Generally the same colors. I honestly, this is why I joke that I would be a good communist. I'm great with a uniform. If I don't have to pick out what to wear, I'll wear a burqa.
You know, the irony of
I'll
saying
wear
that
whatever.
you would make a good communist, you would also make a good cadet. You know, because cadets have to wear the same.
No. But they have to iron it and have creases and all that kind of shit. No. I'm putting on a tunic. I'm like in Defending Your Life with a tunic and pajama pant or karate pant, like a karate gi kind of look, like maybe with a tunic, and we all wear it. And I'm also hip with all of us just all shaving our hair. I actually wish humans didn't have hair. I wish as a species we didn't come with hair. If we never knew about it, we wouldn't know any different, okay? So you wouldn't miss it if you didn't know. That's my thought. And we could just alter wigs and hats and all sorts of fun stuff. But that way, no one ever has a bad hair day, ever. And I'm telling you, hair, not good.
Guys, all I can say is be nice to the ladies. Always be nice to the ladies, because we have it so much easier than they do. I don't subscribe to this idea, but then again, I don't go through the trials and tribulations of what it's like to be a woman every day.
Yeah.
So
and I also loathe wearing makeup. He knows, like, as soon as we leave, I have to wash my face like immediately. Like, I do not like stuff on my I never wear lipstick, which has probably been very noticeable. I know, like it drives people like my mother crazy. She's like, how about a little lipstick? Just a little lipstick. I'm like, no, I don't want some. I don't like any. I don't like anything on my mouth. I don't like it.
TM, no, there is no guy liner being worn here, so don't suspect otherwise.
He's way more high maintenance than I am.
I am not.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
So she says.
You should see the facials and his stuff. He has his rose quartz face roller.
I take care of my face. It doesn't mean I have guy liner.
No, but I'm just saying it takes him infinitely longer to get ready to do something than me.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No, it is.
Yes, it is. I'm always waiting for you.
I was here first today.
That's not the same thing. We weren't. No, you take way longer to get ready than me.
So be it. All right. So let's have a fun conversation, because that's what today is about. Because there are so many things that we could be talking about here. And who better than one of our favorite mainstays, somebody who doesn't subscribe to the progressive orthodoxy, but is rather stuck in the middle, as we often like to say. And of course, he knows a thing or two about...
Got to bring him on, because I'm falling off the deep end. He's stuck in the middle. I'm falling off the deep end. I'm going off the left. I'm going to come back around to the right.
Osiris, save Jen if you can. Welcome back to Generational Change.
What's good? It's been too long, Jen and Peter. Y'all cracking me up watching.
How are you?
You know, we always worry. We always worry that we can't do a show solo. And I'm thinking, no, if we just mock the shit out of each other the entire time,
Sometimes that's when it's the funniest and the best, man. Carry on, but always great to be here.
You with the cute salt and pepper facial hair going on there.
That's just me being uncouth. You talk about hair, not shaving. That's all it is.
No, but I like it.
I appreciate it. But you're looking good, Jen. I jumped on at a bad time. Do we have doubts about this?
No, I don't even know who said that.
No, not Peter, but.
I pointed out the eyeliner, and she's like, "Well, thank you for noticing."
Well, no, it's just that I haven't done anything different than I do every.
I guess I just
show.
happened to notice it was.
Yeah. You know how we guys are, like, we finally notice after years you've been doing it or something like that?
You mean obtuse?
Shut the F
No.
up! How come you never say anything nice to me?
No, my wife got her hair cut the other day and I didn't even know. You know that's a big no. I didn't notice. She didn't get it cut that much, though. I was like, it was just a little bit. That's why I didn't know. It looked good, baby.
Yeah.
Try to play it off.
So what's new in Colorado? What's new in your world, my friend?
What's good? I got a new job, so I've been busy. So thankfully, got a new job that's going well. So I haven't been streaming as much, but Colorado's doing well, man. My kids went back to school. They're back early. They're early here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been in school for like a week now. Yeah. So yeah, it's looking. My kids are 4 and almost 7. So got one starting 2nd grade now. Getting bigger. The one's 4-year-old doing preschool. Yep. They got a new thing in Colorado where if you want a discount off a preschool, you have to sign up through the state. And it's kind of convoluted, but it's all good.
Voluntary. They have pre-K. They have voluntary, because we have that here, but it is like always been like this jumping through hoops. Mm-hmm. It's not a simple thing.
Surprisingly, for such a libertarian red state that Florida is. Universal pre-K, Florida's considered one of the top 3 states in the whole country for that particular policy.
That's weird.
Which I find interesting.
Because we're like 48th for everything else education.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Well, maybe that's like conservative Florida's way of saying, hey, we don't just care about the right of birth. We actually care about the very early stages, but then you're on your own. You know, once you're in the garden, you got to figure out how to put bread on your plate. It's up to you at that point.
Pretty much.
So, speaking of libertarian, we might as well start with the big story, which, of course, is friend of the show, ironically enough, Jesse Ventura, former governor of Minnesota and mayor in, I forget the town in
Minneapolis.
No, he was the mayor of Minneapolis.
Is he a mayor right now?
No.
No, not now. Oh, you're talking about former. Yeah, I was like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he expressed on our show that when it came to whether or not he would actually run for president, he made it very clear that there are 2 things that would happen. Number one, if he did, it would definitely be on a third-party ticket. There's no way whatsoever that he would run in any of the 2 major parties. And the other caveat is he would be running within a party infrastructure that essentially has ballot access in all 50 states. Now, at the time, I thought, well, the only party that realistically in 2024 will have universal, if you will, ballot access is the Libertarian Party. I didn't think that he would necessarily be going in that direction because he kind of has a mix and match of a bunch of different policies, some which are absolutely libertarian, but others that are very progressive and certainly not in line with what I like to consider to be the austerity party, as our friend Steve Grumbine, the Real Progressives, likes to say, which is essentially what the libertarians are. They have a lot of great policies that I agree with. They have a lot of crappy policies that make no sense, in my humble opinion. But with that said, Graham Seninger, I believe was the name of the podcast that Jesse was on recently. Colin, if you want to cue it up, the clip of Jesse Ventura explaining what his plans are for 2024. Very interesting.
What do you think you were able to win given how much less money you spent campaigning compared to the other candidates?
Because I was allowed to debate. They made a fatal error. You notice they haven't allowed anybody since. No third party's been allowed to debate since I won.
How many first-time voters came out
that
election?
A lot.
And that was largely the difference, too, wasn't it?
That's how come if I run for president, if they let me in the debates, I'd win that too. Bold talk, isn't it?
What's the likelihood you ever try and run?
Who knows? Let's wait till the Libertarian convention where the Libertarians announce their candidate and that candidate gets ballot access throughout the whole country. Then you time it out, you spend the least money, you come in, you destroy their 2 candidates if you're allowed in the debate. If they got the frickin' guts to let me in a debate, I'll come in and destroy their 2 candidates and steal the election in November, just like I did in Minnesota.
Would you like to be president?
No, not particularly. But in the back of my mind, there's always that patriotic voice saying to me, if not you, then who? Who's going to restore America? Who's going to take on the two-party dictatorship and beat them? Who can do that? Well, I've done it twice. Haven't lost yet.
He's not wrong. Like, he's not wrong.
Jesse's not playing.
Oh, but like he is right that there's no way they can debate him. No, none of them. There's no way.
Oh, I agree. Oh, he's great. He's the best of all worlds, I think. I'm a big fan. I know you guys have interviewed him, talked with him, and I think libertarians would like a lot of his views.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how purist they are. Now, I think that they're smarter than the Green Party in that way, that they might be more strategic, that they might be smarter and not just sort of, just be you're all or nothing like they were when he tried to run with the Green Party. And they're like, no, you don't meet our purity test. But I think he's definitely formidable. And there's no way that they would allow him in a debate. But I don't think they'll allow Cornel West to debate either. Because even though he doesn't fight like Jesse, they're not going to have their way with Cornel West.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah. So is he trying to say he wants to? Is that an announcement there? That's the first I've seen that.
This was on a pretty popular podcast, and it's been viewed several 100,000 times. And he just did this, was it yesterday or Tuesday?
That to me sounds like he's been talking with the Libertarian Party. He wouldn't have said that if it wasn't already something being discussed.
Wow.
And he said that if somebody would put him on a ballot that had where he had access, that he would run for that party. And I do believe that he sees it as a duty. I do think that he truly believes that, because he's happy living in Mexico and living his happy little life.
Graham actually asked, I actually listened to the whole interview. Graham actually said in the interview, do you want to be president? And he said, no. But I feel that we're at a time where somebody who has the experience and is not co-opted by that system has to step up to the plate. And I do believe he is that person in many ways. I like Dr. West a lot, and I love the fact that he's out there and he's doing it, and I would absolutely support him. But if you're asking me who I think has the gravitas to actually be taken seriously as a presidential candidate, Jesse, absolutely, 100%. I mean, he has the ability. I was just telling Jen while the video was playing, I said, the big difference between somebody like Cornel West and Jesse Ventura, Jesse's a killer. Like, he will go for the throat in a way that others will not.
He's not referring to them as his brothers and sisters when he's debating them.
Yep. And he was governor. I mean, he's got the credentials too. I mean, he's got the experience as well. So he's the full package. This is the first I've heard of it. This is big news right here.
Okay, good. Yeah. I like that we could do that for you, because it's exciting. And I agree. I think that having executive branch experience is key. Like, that to me is way more important. It is. And people don't recognize that. So when people are running, and I always say, okay, you're running to be the chief executive of our country. What are your qualifications for that job? And a lot of people are kind of taken aback, because I do not feel that way about Congress. With Congress, I feel like that's the people's house. I feel like it should be a variety of different people representing different people. But with the executive branch, I don't think that. I want somebody who is qualified and has a certain amount of credentials, both academically and professionally, that qualifies them to be a chief executive. I do. And I don't need that to be everyday people. That's what Congress is. Like, I feel like that. And I want a highly credentialed president. I just do. Yeah.
Jesse has that presence you're talking about. Like, that's a dude where when he talks, I don't care what you think of him, you are listening to him. Cornel West does too, but Jesse has that presidential type. To me, some people might think I'm crazy because they might look at you can only choose the big names. You can only choose Biden or whatever, Michelle Obama. But when I look at it, I look at Jesse like that's a leader right there, and he's very good on a lot of positions. I think he's pro 2A. I'm pro-choice. He's pro-choice. Like I'm kind of on different sides of stuff, and so is he. And it's not even where you're at. It's more like, how do you present it? Like, that's what it is to me. And he presents it in a way like, here's my take on it. Here's how I defend it. And you can respect it or not.
To our libertarian-leaning friends out there that we have spoken to, have been on the show, Clint Russell, Martha Bueno, Cal Roth, I have been adamant that you're all going to eventually have to get off your effing high horse when it comes to universal health care. Because if you think you're ever going to stand a chance of being relevant, you cannot have austerity when it comes to health care. No way, no how. Everybody has to have at least some semblance of reality, knowing that Jesse is a supporter of universal health care.
Yes.
And if you try in any way to hold that candle over his head, like, well, you can't support universal health care.
Well, and that's where he differs from a lot of people in the Libertarian Party. Well, that is one of the progressive stances that he takes. And the question is, will the Libertarians be smart enough to embrace that?
I don't know. I think the Mises Caucus is running it right now, the Libertarian Party. So I think they're open-minded because they were really friendly with Robert Kennedy Jr., RFKJ. They really liked him, Dave Smith, Comic Dave Smith and them. I am for universal health care. I will say I am very salty at how the pandemic was handled. And I have concerns, and I think that's got to be handled. So that's... For me, you can't have a pandemic like that, and I'm not even going to get into it. Just you have a situation. What job do you go to where you have a big thing that happened, and it was like a fire drill? Everybody had to go act, and then after it's done, there's no review on what happened. Like there's really no universal. Yeah, I'm like, before we get to universal, like this is like what happened? Like what are we going to do next time? What did we get right? What did we get wrong? It's like so. But and then the other.
Oh, I'm sorry. No.
No.
Finish.
Well, no, I was going to go. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's almost like a chicken and an egg thing, though, because I feel like if we had decent universal single payer healthcare, then it would have been handled much differently and much better. And we would have been able to accommodate much differently and much better. And we would just have a whole different system in place that didn't have a for-profit middleman in the middle. So like that is the thing that holds us up every time in terms of getting the service to the people. You have something in the middle of that is just literally siphoning money from it, that brings nothing else to the table. And that is something that we have to go around every single time in terms of whether it's dealing with the insurance companies or big pharma. And that right there is something that no other country allows big pharma to screw over their people like ours does here. And they don't protect us. Their job is to protect us from corporations, not to help corporations make profits off of us. Like the whole role of them should not be to make profits for big business. That's not their purpose. And I believe that's how the pandemic was handled, as it would be in a for-profit healthcare system.
Yep.
Friend of the show, Brenda O'Reilly. I flew to France to have my first son. The flight and staying with my husband's family was way cheaper since the service was taken care of. The average
there's a tweet. There was a tweet that went viral. I don't know if you saw that. A woman talking about how her birth was like $40K or something crazy like that.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me at all.
The average cost of birthing a child in America is over $10,000.
So if anything slightly goes wrong, or there's a complication, or there's whatever, yes, and it's exponential. It's absurd.
And this is also why when it comes and again,
and we also have the highest woman and baby mortality rates in the entire developed world, and it's the most expensive. How does that make sense?
No sense. Yep.
Yeah, and this is probably why you don't identify with the conservative right, because at the end of the day, there is a level of hypocrisy that exists when you base your life on the Bible, if you will. And so it's not even written in the Bible that abortion is a sin. But nevertheless, my point is that there is this pro-life movement that for some reason is so adamantly concerned about the ability to protect life. But then at the same time, they're not advocating for universal health care, which makes it possible financially for people who may be in financial dire straits to have a child. They have a child when there isn't that safety net of universal health care. And then they are literally in debt for God knows how long on top of the costs of having to raise a child. So, that's the part on the libertarian side that to me, the biggest hurdle is recognizing that you need government-funded, not government-run healthcare. Metalopoly, I'm looking at you.
Well said, Peter. I mean, those are bars right there. The viewpoints don't line up. If you're pro-life, okay, then why aren't you for some type of universal? Or here's my thing: because a lot of people get triggered by that term. So let's think of something better. You haven't come up with a better idea, and you're not going after big pharma. Trump didn't go after big pharma, so he did the opposite. So give me a better idea before you knock mine. That's all I want to know.
Right. I mean, I honestly don't know anybody who has not had some sort of real negative experience with our healthcare system, except for some older people that are happy with, if you are on Medicare and you also have the privilege of having a good supplement, like you have, you have money, whatever, those are the only people I know that are happy with their healthcare, are the people that have Medicare and are also wealthy enough to have a good supplement. Everyone else, no one's happy with their healthcare. No one wants to deal with it. It's horrible.
And if that's not enough, the other major issue that is the roadblock in the Libertarian Party that will come to the forefront with Jesse Ventura is he is a major, major advocate for the labor movement. And so you are either on the side of workers or you're on the side of shareholders. Now, I don't know about you, but if the Libertarian principles are really put on the table, then they would be on the side of labor and not shareholders, because the system is rigged so that shareholders basically are in a state of high-end socialism where they can't lose. There's basically no way that the rich can lose in our current economic system. Labor needs to come in and create that balance. Right now, it's on its way. I think having a voice like Jesse Ventura could be very powerful in that regard. And so being able to organize for a living wage, for universal health care, that alone, I'm not even talking about foreign policy, which we'll get to in a minute, because there is a side of the Libertarian Party that is very solid and does not make any exceptions for, which we'll get to. But I do think from the healthcare and from the labor perspective especially, this is where the rubber is going to have to meet the road for the Libertarians if they are going to have a viable candidate running their party, because labor is all the rage these days.
And it is Jesse. Jesse's definitely a labor guy.
He's got a really good package. I always caution on the union part is because sometimes they become institutionalized and basically another arm of the Democrat Party. But in theory, I'm all on the labor side. I think libertarians are on the labor side. I think the problem libertarians have, and I don't want to speak for all libertarians. I'm not I just became into this like 3 years ago. So, but from what I hear and read, the problem that they have is they don't like a group of people negotiating on their behalf. In this very independent mind state where it's like, I'm the boss. Like if I want a higher raise, more in pay, then I negotiate it or I go somewhere else. But I am obvious. I think they are on that side, but however they articulate it, they've got to be able to articulate it. And I think they struggle with that. Jesse's good there.
Yeah.
Definitely agree on that point. And I also think what's important about the labor organizing, which is where a lot of the libertarian mindset about labor comes to mind, which is I don't want to be told that just because the consensus amongst the group is we're all negotiating for this and this is what we're sticking with, I don't necessarily want to be a part of it. Well, you know what? The way labor is being constructed in this country, I think it does have to evolve, especially the old guard labor unions, where basically you have your rank and file and then you have your leadership, particularly the union bosses, which are no different than CEOs of Fortune 500 companies and, dare I say, mafia organizations, because that's how they operate. And we've seen that in the state of Florida. We've seen that in a lot of places. If you don't want to be a part of the labor negotiation and you want to have that opt-out opportunity as a laborer, there has to be some opportunity there for somebody to say, I respect what you're fighting for, but I will still be your brother in arms and I will still fight for your right, but I cannot stand by I want to stand on my own. I do not want to be part of the labor union. And you know what, if that's the case, then I think certain industries are going to have to open. They're going to have to be more liberal, if you will, in that regard, as far as what
I don't support right to work states.
No, neither do I.
No, that's, again, well said. I think that's a libertarian. Maybe it's just me. Don't hear a clear position on that. So I want to hear that. Did Joe Jurgensen even talk about that? I don't even think she really got into that.
No, she was no different than Howie Hawkins as far as I'm concerned. Candidates that were just running on the ticket, it didn't really matter what it is that they stood for. But, the one thing that I always found so interesting, the Democratic Party today still talks about Ralph Nader and still talks about Jill Stein.
I love Ralph Nader.
Joe Jorgensen actually took the vote share away from Trump in Wisconsin in 2020. You never, ever hear the GOP or Trump or anybody ever talk about that. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have a legitimate gripe to say, oh, you know, if Jorgensen wasn't on the ballot, you know, this might have worked out.
Yeah.
They don't play that game. Their attitude is, we'll circle the wagons and we'll kick your ass next time. That's how they roll. And I think that's, again, people, there is something to be said in our country's culture of being attracted to leaders who want to kick ass and take names. And that is actually something that Jesse Ventura has.
Oh, yeah.
So
I agree.
that's the reason why they would want to like him. But I do think if there is a major, major factor here, why I think the Libertarians are open to having him run on their ticket is because he's anti-war. And he is very much anti-Ukraine war. And that is a huge thing right now when you consider how that money is being spent hand over fist. And on top of what just happened in Maui, we all know this is only going to get worse as we go forward. But this idea that they were being offered $700 as compensation for losing everything. I mean, if
and on the same day, and how much to Ukraine?
Another,
like in the same day.
Like another couple $100 million. I mean, if you just measure that money and what that would mean to the people of Maui, instead of getting $700, you might be getting $70,000 or something more. I mean, again, still not enough. But at least that's a start.
$700.
I mean, it's so
insulting.
It's insulting.
Yeah, and you even saw people on the right say the same thing. Now, maybe they were just trying to get at Biden, but they were still right. It was insulting. I wouldn't even have came out with that. To me, it's just, you know, if you're not going to be able to do something a little bit more. Yeah,
who thought that would make a good look,
especially in the shadow of Ukraine, because that same day. The same day, like right an hour after we found out or something, the Ukraine stuff popped.
Yeah.
More money. So.
And I also think that the big difference between somebody like Cornell or even RFK, who tepidly say we have to get out of Ukraine, even Marianne, same thing. Jesse will stand up there and say, we're getting the F out of Ukraine, and that is that. End these effing wars that are BS. And on top of the fact that the guy was a Navy SEAL, I mean, to me, you're talking about somebody who put his life on the line in the most useless war in our nation's history, which is Vietnam. And so to say that he could actually hold water with people who would try to tell him that he's wrong, you're not telling that guy he's wrong because he ain't going to take it. And
very knowledgeable dude too. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And then the last thing, which I think will be very big for libertarians, is that he is a complete civil libertarian across the board.
Yeah.
The way he fights, the way he fought for cannabis legalization in Minnesota.
Always, yeah.
I mean, credit to the governor of Minnesota who invited Jesse to be there when he was in Mexico for the signing of cannabis legalization in the state. I mean, that was really big, among other things that he fights for. Free speech advocate, Second Amendment enthusiast. I mean, there's a lot of things there
for sure.
in terms of a crossover candidate. If Jesse decides that he's willing to go for it on the Libertarian ticket, he's going to be a threat. There's no question about it.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
And what I would also love to see is that you see how Cornell is right now sitting at about 6-7% support, and he doesn't even really have a campaign as of this moment. I can't even imagine what it would be like if Jesse got in there on the Libertarian ticket and what his poll numbers would look like right out of the gate. They would probably, shit a brick.
Oh, yeah.
Know what to do.
Yeah. No, he'll scare the Republicans. For sure.
Yeah. And he's I'm very hesitant to get into the race stuff because it quickly divides people. He's not bad on race either. I mean, there's a lot to like about him because he's reasonable on it. Where you can, he's not. Here's what he's not. He doesn't divide people when he talks about race.
No.
That's the part that I like. You all, you two do not divide people when you talk about race. That's kind of like what I look at. Like, are you using race to divide people, or are you just having? Or are you going to have a real, authentic conversation?
Yeah,
he's good.
I think we got to do both. So, like, I am not. I mean, there's no way to say, oh, I don't see color. I just see shades of gray or whatever the thing is, like that kind of hippy dippy shit, because that's not reality. Right? Like unfortunately, our lived existences have made it be that there is this issue, right? Like, I wish that weren't an issue. But it is. So you have to address it. You can't pretend, oh, that's not there. Right? But then then it swings the other way where it's like, you're so over woke about stuff that you're undermining what you're trying to do. And I believe that for a lot of vulnerable groups. It's not just race, it's across the board. I feel like when you swing so far the other way, it's so alienating to people that you're really undermining what you're trying to do. So I just feel like there's a way to do this better. And most people, regardless of their race, kind of want the same things. They just want to live their lives in peace, raise their children in a safe environment, and just get from point A to point B. That's it. That's all most people are just trying to do in this world. So, that is universal.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also think that if we're looking at a circumstance that I think was very telling about the perceived notions within certain communities, particularly the Black community, we're very friendly with Marcel Dixon, who has run for Congress twice against Jim Clyburn down in South Carolina. And he went to a Marianne Williamson town hall and stated his position regarding reparations and how it was being handled. And the uncomfortable nature of the white fragility that Marianne was projecting in that moment really spoke to the issues that a lot of upper class liberals tend to have when it comes to dealing with these types of issues. If you're not going to go to the core and deal with why things are the way they are. And I think maybe that is what has allowed our channel to sustain itself over 2 years.
Small but mighty.
Small but mighty. But, we have we have done fairly well. We may not be a cash cow channel, but that's not the point. We know that when it comes to these issues that really matter, don't get distracted by the things that have no semblance of reason when it comes to solving our actual problems. If you want to solve these problems, then recognize where a lot of these problems exist. A lot of people like to talk about housing and things like that, but they don't want that in their backyard. Well, if we're not going to be honest about why we have a gentrification crisis in this country, it's because we have an economic crisis in this country where people are not able to make enough money to live, much less buy a place to live and build equity and build retirement and so forth.
Well, and we have a government that gives socialism to corporations so that they could buy out all the properties so that no one else can afford to live in them.
Fun fact for you, ladies and gentlemen, do you know how much mega corporations in this country get in subsidies, aka welfare, every year? At least $170 billion.
And wait a minute, and what industry gets the most subsidies is the fossil fuel industry. You want to talk about how much money they're getting every year? It's absurd.
And when people complain, as we see people on the right, Ben Shapiro, Stephen Crowder, what you always find interesting is they want to complain about the subsidies that, let's say, solar's getting, wind is getting. They can't even scratch the boots of what the fossil fuel industry is getting.
That's where libertarians are better. I think libertarians across the board are like, we don't like any of them. Well, they don't want the government to begin with, the federal government, much less the subsidies.
Well, that's always been the mark of why our system's broken. It's not that the government is broken. Our government is run by corporate special interests. When people say, the government is corrupt, yeah, the government is corrupt. Why? The government is corrupt because it doesn't work for the people.
It works for corporations.
That's it. If the government worked for us.
It is the United Corporations of America.
Yeah.
It really is. We're so far in it at this point that we laugh about it, but really that's who's in charge. That is totally who runs everything, are corporations.
All right.
We are in a corporate matrix.
So then let's transition to something that obviously has been going viral over the past few days. Of course, it's controversial. It's not without its, detractors, supporters, and so on. But, obviously this gentleman who I believe is in the state of Virginia, Oliver Anthony, came out with this song, Richmond, North of Richmond. Now, I kind of get what that actually means, and I think most people do as well. There is a little bit of that, Dixiecrat kind of lingo that he's using there, which again, Richmond, north of Richmond. Richmond was the capital of the Confederacy and so on. But there were things that were said in that song that are absolutely correct. So it's a catch-22. What I think we should do is, Colin, if you have the song.
Agreed, Ray J. I do think Jesse would take both Elon and Zuck in a cage match.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Well, I absolutely would love to take Elon and Zuckerberg at the same time.
Let me tell you something. I actually, if that were, he could take both of those guys at the same
Just
time.
watch what would happen.
Don't you think, Osiris?
Oh yeah. Well, Mark knows a little bit of martial arts, so but Jesse's a beast. I mean, he's a beast.
I would flick him off with one finger while I'm holding Elon off with my other.
I watched him as a wrestler. I still remember. I'm old now. I still remember him as a wrestler.
Yeah, he was great.
Great character.
Oh yeah, he was great.
Yeah, only him and Jerry the King Lawler could ever do that heel commentary as good as anybody. Oh, that's gonna hurt me, Gene.
But you know what you see with him is he really is the total package, because he is definitely the physical ability, the mental ability. He's definitely bright. I don't know. I mean, he's definitely got it going. If I were Trump and Joe, I'd be like, yeah, forget this.
Well, that's why he made it very clear in the interview that they're not afraid of anybody but him in terms of getting into the debates. Yeah,
yes.
They would not like
Cornell
or RFK but Jesse. Oh no, they can't have.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine him debating Joe and Trump? Like seriously, that would be so entertaining.
I don't think they would show up. You get the vibe now. They don't want to debate. Oh, puppy. Oh.
Are we watching a clip? What's happening?
Colin, do you have the clip of?
Oh, do we have?
I was gonna say for the song, I was not gonna grab that just to not anger
and I'm
the
fine
YouTube
with it
gods.
because I wasn't really that big on the hillbilly song.
But could read the lyrics, but music probably treading a little bit.
Yeah, we can't.
Why not?
Because we can't play it.
Oh,
right?
We're gonna get copyrighted.
Copy.
Yeah, I can guarantee that guy has his copyright.
Yeah, we don't want to play
police
that.
going.
And I don't feel the need to prove
All right,
it.
if you have the lyrics, if we want to roll with those, I mean that's fine because at least then we can discuss exactly what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jen, as you alluded to, there was basically two songs. The first part really hit on some things that are important, and then the second half just dives into.
I think he's a right-wing shell, that it was put up there and it was meant to go viral. I think it was planned. I don't think that it was random. I think that there was a plan for that to happen that way by right-wing. And again, I'm not like I hate the right. I'm just saying literally, I think that this was a planned thing from that camp.
I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and waste my life away, drag back home, and drown my troubles away. Okay. That's correct.
Well,
I mean, the song's pretty apolitical. I know there's that one line, maybe we'll get to it, where he talks about somebody being heavy set in 5'3" or something. But
it's a damn shame what the world's gotten to for people like me and people like you. Wish I could wake up and it not be true, but it is, so it is.
I don't think you should be allowed to read this. I think that if you're going to do it, you should have to sing it.
Living in the new world.
No, don't.
With an old soul. These rich men north of Richmond, Lord knows they all just want to have total control. Want to know what you think, want to know what you do. And they don't think you know, but I know that you do. Because your dollar ain't shit and it's taxed to no end. Because of rich men north of Richmond. You needed something, it will never end. Something like that. I don't know how you missed that.
I don't think I don't know that you're a songwriter. I don't.
I haven't tried.
I know, but I don't
Thanks.
think
Right.
that.
You just have no faith in my ability. Okay. I wish politicians would look out for minors, not just minors on an island somewhere. Okay, so there's the line. There's that line of controversy where we know who he's talking about.
Do we?
Yeah, he's talking about Jeffrey Epstein.
But that's apolitical, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Is that political? That's not political, though, is it?
I don't find that political.
I don't think so, but I can certainly see where they saw that line and they thought, oh, we got to take.
No, I don't think it's political.
that's
I think it's stupid because I think you can simultaneously look out for minors and minors. So, like, that's a straw man thing to say. And again, I don't have a problem with either. I think both of those things should be dealt with.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah, he's saying, I wish they would look out for minors and not just the minors. He's playing just like Richmond and Richmond. He's doing that play on words. But I think, Peter, you're right. if you want to know why everyone went after this song, the media, at least corporate media, it's probably that line right there.
And the obese milk and welfare.
Lord, we got folks in the street, ain't got nothing to eat, and the obese milk and welfare. Okay,
So that's
this is the section right here, and I'm going to finish it. Well, God, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, taxes ought not to pay for your bags of fudge rounds. Young men are putting themselves 6 feet in the ground because all this damn country does is keep on kicking them down. Okay, so here's the thing. If you're going to talk about what it's like, and hold it for a second, Colin. No. I want that back up again. One second. I'll scroll it for a second. So what you have here, which is important to remember, yes, we have a welfare problem in this country, but what you're not talking about is the fact that in these particular communities, whether you're talking about the most urban of urban black communities or the most rural of rural white communities, if you go into town and you try to get food, what kind of food are you typically going to find?
Crap.
Yep.
Crap.
You're going to find the type of food that makes you 5'3" and 300 pounds.
It's right. It's not, and that's why I don't like that, because I feel like it puts all the onus on every individual when in fact we are systemically being poisoned, especially in vulnerable communities. They have easier access to ding dongs than an apple. And so this is part of what I'm talking about.
Take it another step. You know, we talk about the biggest conglomerates that are subsidized in this country: big oil, big pharma, and big agriculture.
Yeah.
And so in the case of big agriculture, you're talking about it costs so much less money to eat crap like fast food,
right,
than it is to actually have a farmer's market in town where you can get fresh fruits and vegetables, where you can get healthy food that you can cook for yourself, meal prep, all those things that can help you along the way. But that takes time, and that requires more money, whereas eating junk allows you to do it on the cheap.
I bet it could be done if they would just stop subsidizing big ag and actually allow it to be competitive. People have said that they'd pay more for products that are made in a fair way, products that are, I mean, so there is that to be gained. But the problem is that our government is subsidizing the wrong way of doing things and complete monoculture. So that is why we only have shit food in little convenience stores instead of like nice markets. And also good supermarkets, high-end supermarkets, produce markets don't want to open in poor neighborhoods because it's not as profitable for them. So instead of the government subsidizing big ag, why aren't they subsidizing supermarkets that they can actually be in neighborhoods where it is needed as a service? Not everything is about profit. That's the problem. That's the problem. And it is not profitable for a Whole Foods to be in Liberia here. That's our, that's the neighborhood. It's like, that's not profitable. But if they got subsidized, if you're subsidizing somebody, why not subsidize to put healthy food in the neighborhood?
And I guarantee you that the conservative talking heads that do this for a career, the Shapiros, the Owens, I mean, don't even get me started on PragerU.
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh, one of the worst. This to me really speaks to what the real problem here is. You had a very good point to this song, but you decided to make it partisan at the last minute when that wasn't necessary.
Not even that, but what's interesting to me is he's literally talking about kicking them down, but what he's doing in that same sentence is kicking down to somebody else. So I find that kind of ironic. Now,
I think that's fair.
Probably obese and has welfare, but I don't think that welfare works the way most people think it does, and it isn't that way. Like, I don't think it works that way. And yes, I think that obesity is a huge problem in these communities because of lack of healthy food, lack of education, lack of healthcare. So there's all these like intersecting issues. So I just find that is kind of kicking down.
Yeah, I think that's fair criticism. I still like the song. I still think it's a song that we really could come together But I agree that can be definitely viewed as divisive.
Yeah.
The welfare.
I mean, look, everybody, the whole working hard, getting treated like the government not taking, that is all accurate. We're all in that boat together. So then I think it's when you then highlight one particular person that is like a straw man of a caricature of the worst of what we have. But the truth is for every person there's probably 100 people that need help that aren't getting the help that they need. So, and that's always my mindset. And that's the problem. I think of when I see a homeless encampment and the police in what they're doing for their work is bulldozing homeless encampments to get rid of them, and they have nowhere else to go. And it's like, this is the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about. It's like, these are not the source of our problem. This person, the 300-pound person on welfare, they're not the cause of our issues.
No.
That is not the source of our problem any more than homeless people are a source of a problem.
The problem is the people at the very top.
It's the
that
system.
They're causing
Correct.
immense amount of plight in this country. You know, a prime example, and I agree with you, Osiris. Overall, I do agree with this song, but he cannot help himself by going down that path, which allows him to endear himself to that concern. Again, it's no different than the Russiagating, Looney Tunes on the liberal side of politics. We know what the code words are that push the button, that get people to say, okay, now you're one of us. Now you're on our team. You are protected by our side. No, the point of this song is that the economic system in this country is broken. And if this guy is where I think he is, which is Southwest Virginia, he is well aware of the crises that exist in Appalachia and what people have to deal with, like the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Like, that's just one example, but there are many through Southwest Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, the Carolinas, down to Georgia. People are going to suffer even more. This is an anthem for those people. The only problem is that when he's talking about the person who's 5'3" and 300 pounds, guess what? There's a lot of people that share his sentiments that are like that are stuck in a living hell that they don't want to be a part of. And when somebody in our chat, don't know who this gentleman is, welcome to the show, Zach Plyler. There's no way in hell the best food these people have are fudge rounds. No one is saying that the best food they have is fudge rounds. What we are saying is that the options for them are not anywhere near what they need to be in order for somebody to be able to.
It's processed food and fast food. The neighborhoods that are vulnerable are processed foods, and fast foods are infinitely more handsy. Also, I don't like that.
And the point I would,
I don't like that.
I side with the song on those lyrics, but the thing that I do see is that, like, I agree with you, is that person is not the adversary.
Right.
So you're kind of using them to make fun. You like get a funny line in there, kind of almost making them sound like they are the adversary. But your song is Richmond, north of Richmond. So that's not who that is. So it is somewhat contradictory. I agree. It's not up to him to try to bring people together, but yeah, that is definitely what is good to learn is that certain things I didn't even think about, believe it or not. I didn't even think about it the first time I heard it, like it would be triggering to, not triggering, but you know what I mean? Like off-putting to certain people. But I think what we can see is I would rather not be off-putting to people where we can rally together than put that line in a song. That's just for me.
Friend of the show,
Metalopoly.
Mocking the poor. He said that we have people on the streets with nothing to eat, correct, while the obese are milking welfare. Again, how much do you actually think that welfare is made up by the poor compared to, let's say, corporate welfare? If we're really
drop in the bucket,
if you're really trying to measure what this actually is.
And aid is going to the wrong people, but the obesity factor, it's just, why point that out at all? Like, what does that have to do with anything? Are you just assuming because someone's obese that they don't need food, or that they're not really hungry, or that they just make poor life choices, and so we should judge them and not help them? Like, what's the point of pointing out that someone's obese? I just don't see the point of that.
And one thing I will say, Metalopoly, and to Mr. Plyler, and anybody else who does lean libertarian when it comes to their economic drive, their consistency, and things like that. I agree that it is a psychological deterrent to be around people that you would consider to be drags on society, that are not, let's say, motivated, that are not hardworking, that you walk into, let's say, a supermarket, as I have done many times in Florida and I see a young woman with 3 children and she is at the front line with the EBT card. I get it. I get this mindset of we don't want people like this in society. We want a more functioning society. Well, I can assure you that there will always be people like that who will exist, but they will be a lot less so if we had a system that actually worked for the people and not for mega corporations. If that were the case, those circumstances would be far and few between, and I can assure you that we would live in a society much more so where people would only get mocked for not working. We live in a society today where people get mocked and told that their job isn't good enough, which is insane.
Well, or it's not worthy of a living wage. That for some reason, if you're the garbage collector or you're the person, you're the custodian or whatever job that somebody finds is not worthy of a living wage, even though it's a job that we want done. But so when I think about people bitching about welfare, well, where are you on the living wage issue? Because we have a situation where it actually makes sense for people to collect welfare over getting a job. That's not them. That's a system problem. Okay. They're not able to make a living wage. Why don't we have a federal jobs guarantee? And then you'd have a living wage. And then you wouldn't even have to enforce a living wage. It would just exist by the nature of having a federal jobs guarantee. So a lot of things we could do to solve the problem. But individual welfare comes nowhere near corporate welfare. So just step off with that.
And here's the thing, Osiris, and this is the thing.
I don't know if that was like a dog whistle thing, though, in it.
Well, here's where I stand. Every state north of Richmond was in the Union. Again, when somebody says Richmond north of Richmond, there is and again,
historical
you
reference.
have to know that there is a little bit of a hidden message there. It just is. Now, is it overt? Maybe not.
But what is the message though? Because I think it has historical connotation. But when you listen to the song, I don't think he was trying to make the connection there.
I don't either.
But you can't.
If I thought that, I would say I really don't. I think that more is. I think. Look, is there a Southern heritage where in their minds they draw the line at Richmond? Okay, them are the Yankees, and this is that. Yeah, I do. I think there probably is that sort of heritage, and that to him it's just the Yankees up north. But and I'm okay with that because I grew up in Florida and I'm very familiar with that. And so, but it wasn't. I don't think in any way a racist. I don't think so.
No,
like
I'm
that
not
wasn't in any way.
No,
Okay.
no.
What I am saying though is that it is a signal to the South. Like I do think that there is an element of, it's the Yankees in DC
And Metalopoly makes a good point.
New York.
Yeah, well, that's what I just said. I said talking about DC. That's what I'm saying. And so I do think that is an element of what is being discussed here. But overall, if you're asking me, do I give a thumbs down or a thumbs up to Mr. Anthony's song? I'll give it a thumbs up because the overall message of the song is the system is broken, and it is coming from rural white America who votes almost very consistently Republican, but he is giving that message of, no, it's actually the system, and that includes our side. This isn't if we only just stopped electing Democrats, that would solve our problem. No, we are electing Democrats and Republicans who are bought by the corporate special interests that are running our system to do as they ask. If that is the message, which I think overall is the message.
Oh yeah.
With a couple of tweaks here and there, that's a message worth getting behind as far as I'm concerned.
For sure.
So, yes, and
This is an interesting point.
Yeah, not to mention when women get welfare, the state takes the woman's child support, which ends up being more than welfare the state makes money on women.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Why
That's the
would
thing.
it?
Well, there's so many loops like that. There are so many little things like that, which is why I know, and anybody who just looks around knows that the House is winning. Okay, the people that are the regular people, there's not some big scam that they're up to like get all the money. No. The scam is at the top, not at the bottom. The person that's eating the fudge bars, as miserable as their life might be and as bad as the choices might make, they're not only are they not the cause of the problem, but they are more suffering from the problem.
Jay, with all due respect, we agree that that part of the song is incorrect.
Yeah, I don't agree with
But
that.
the core message of what he's singing about, that the system is broken and that the working man is being completely destroyed,
That's the unifying
that
message.
is the unifying message, whether you like it or not. And you know what? We often see this on the progressive left in particular. Do not allow perfect to be the enemy of good. The only line that is drawn, as far as I'm concerned, is whether or not the person in question is bought and paid for by corporate special interests. That is the only line that matters to me. Past that, I'm willing to have a conversation with anybody.
I'm kind of with you, Jay. I wasn't so big on necessarily even covering it. I don't really care necessarily either way. To me, it feels like there was some sort of like planned propaganda thing, but you know, whatever.
Anything's possible, but I do think that it's important that at least that narrative of the system's broken and the working class is being completely destroyed by the rich and powerful, that should be the core message. Now, unfortunately, it's going to get distracted by the other caveats within the message that are not correct. They're just not. There is a walking on the poor, which again, he claims to say that that's what he's fighting for, and yet he's fighting down at the same time.
Right, that's the point. But are we going to talk about the Maui situation?
I think we have to talk about the Maui situation. And this is where the rubber really should meet the road.
Oh my God.
Because, Colin, I don't know if you have, I know I had sent you some
Osiris, have
information.
you ever been to Lahaina?
No, I've only been to Kona, Big Island. Is it Kona? Twice? Yeah,
Island.
or once actually. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've been to Lahaina, and so the fact that I even have it as a mental frame of reference from being there in person, I cannot fathom like what these people are going through and how incredibly horrible. And now they're being preyed on by BlackRock and other disgusting people that are already trying to buy their land. And again, this is just we are just so like stained.
Yeah.
Like we are stained people. Like that is just, these people are just like coming out of the ocean from swimming for their lives, and you have companies offering them money for their land. Like and here's a $700 check from the government. Now we'll buy your land from you.
And I heard like what 1,200 people last I heard lost. Don't know where they are. Can't.
Oh, there's a ton missing.
There's at
110.
Yeah, at least 100 now that are accounted for that are deceased, and still 1,400 people missing.
1,400 missing. Wow.
And so these people are shoveling through their rubble, trying to find bodies. And yet there's disgusting land grabs going on all around them. If that is not symbolic of where we are, to me, that is a very broken society, a very unhealthy and broken society.
Yeah, there's a YouTube video of a lady who lives in Maui who lost her home and was contacted by a major real estate developer and was asked if she would like to sell her land. And of course, the price that was being offered was basically 5 cents on the dollar. And, you know, she said, we got to out all of these people. But you don't really have to out them because we already know who's doing it. And of course, the one at the top who is doing it is none other than BlackRock. And that should not surprise anybody. You know, the mega corporation that has as much wealth within their holdings, that is the equivalent of what would be the fourth richest economy in the world behind the United States, China, and Japan. BlackRock, not even a country, just a private equity firm that controls all the money, is going around the world and basically saying, we're going to run the world. And no one is attempting to stop this. I would hope right now that somebody's going to step in and say, this is a bridge too far. Because this also speaks to the failures of the Biden administration, which we point out constantly. Again, we did the same thing to George Bush.
That's a very good point.
The same thing that happened with George Bush and his administration when they failed the people of New Orleans. This is even worse because this is Hawaii. This is a small island. This is an affluent place. This is not people that do not have ways and means, as a lot of people who suffered in New Orleans did. These are people who had homes, who did well for themselves, and now people are coming in like vultures. The worst form of capitalism, vulture capitalism, is coming in to try to take everything they have because they suffered from an absolute tragedy. And there are all the conspiracies that are going around right now. Some may be proven true, some may be proven false. The fact of the matter,
Metalopolis saying is true. Same police chief from the Vegas shooting.
Yeah.
What are the odds?
I have no idea. That is unbelievable.
There's a reason. Well, there's a reason why people believe that the Illuminati are all around us, and that there is the all-seeing eye that is basically watching everything that we do. There is even this conspiracy floating around right now that Oprah had something to do with this. But the one that's also to what end? Well, apparently Oprah owns hundreds of acres of land on Maui's
So
island.
she thought it would be fun to set it on fire
Well, there is
because she needed insurance money.
Well, Osiris, do you believe that it's possible that this was an arson job? That this was not
an accident
or something related to the environment?
Oh, I don't trust the narrative. I don't trust the stories. My trust is completely gone. So I have no idea. I have not dug into it, but I would not rule anything out. That's
how
for sure.
That's exactly how I feel. I think that it could be a combination of multiple things. There were several different fires. So could it be that there was something that was natural and someone took that as an opportunity to do something else? And like, here's what I know. Multiple things can be true at the same time. That's what I think. I don't necessarily know that it's an all or nothing scenario, but I agree with Osiris. Nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me at this point about any of that. And I don't think that sounds conspiracy at all.
You can't allow, like you said, these asset management firms to run basically the whole country. I mean, they got the assets of so many things. They control so much, and then at the same time have me believe a story that's being told to me. So I don't know. And then the other part that makes me question is I really haven't seen. Has the corporate media really dug into it, or?
No.
Oh,
and that's I find that kind of strange to me.
Well, the other thing that's also strange, there's so many moving parts here, and we're only just starting to peel back the onion, so to speak. I mean, we have a friend who actually assisted Jen's campaign, who worked on Tulsi's campaign, and she is from the island. She don't even want to talk about it. Like, she is beyond devastated, and she has family over there. Like, this is a very sick, because there's probably information she's been privy to that we haven't been, because she has family that's actually there that are telling her exactly what's going on, and it's probably earth-shattering to even hear about it. But what cannot be denied is BlackRock is systemically trying to take over this island. If we know this, and I've often said, especially when it comes to the naivete of people who claim that they know exactly what goes on, particularly when it comes to foreign policy, that you don't know anything. If you know 5%, that's a lot. So when somebody is looking at what's going on over there, and they can clearly see that something is so tragically wrong, that as the President of the United States and his administration, along with the United States Congress, does not immediately declare a state of emergency for the state of Hawaii, and that no one is touching this land under any circumstances. The people who own this land are going to keep it, and they're going to be justly compensated in order to rebuild it.
You know what? If Biden would have came out and said that, I probably, even though I don't like Joe Biden, I probably would have believed it. I'm tired of being blamed for not trusting. Why don't you reach out and do something to make me trust you? It's not on me to trust the government and the news aid. Like, you've got to do some work, and that's what rubs me the wrong way. It's like, even with this situation, I don't feel like the administration has done enough to make me say, like, oh wow, maybe they really do want to do the right thing.
Yeah, no, they don't want to do the right thing because they've passed up so many opportunities to do the right thing and haven't. So if you choose to do the right thing, you would just do the right thing. All these executive orders would have been passed. All sorts of cool things could have happened. So they don't care. But I don't trust any of those stories at all. But I do believe that if there was any integrity, they would put a moratorium on any land transactions right now until further notice. Like, this has got to be shut down now. There are way too many vulnerable people that are just going to get like the shit beat out of them by these corporations. And it's really scary to me.
What I also found very interesting is that the people of Hawaii, particularly in Maui, the president was going to go there and make an appearance, and they're like, we don't need you coming here. We need help.
Right.
That's what we need.
Yeah, for a photo op.
did a nice, and he's from there, and I saw he did a video like telling people where to actually send money, the right place to send money, which is something like, it's a Cash App, Lahaina. I don't know. He had one. Jason Momoa, go to his page. He has the exact right. If you want to give to literally the families in Lahaina,
the Maui Emergency Relief Fund.
That wasn't the one he said. I'm just saying there's another.
I'm saying there are these local ones. And to top it all off, Osiris, this is where President Obama is from. And he puts out a video encouraging people, I kid you not, to donate to the Red Cross. To anyone who still defends this man, I just don't get it.
Where are you on him, Osiris? Like
Obama?
Yeah.
Oh,
you're not a fan, right?
I voted. I'm kind of hurt because I voted for that bruh twice. I voted for him in 2008, and like many people, the person whose hat this is a well-known conservative officer Tatum. He voted for Obama at least once. I forget, maybe twice too, and I was just ignorant and bailed out the big banks and dropped the bombs, and he was a disaster. He was disastrous, Obama, and he continues to be so.
Yeah.
Well, he's
the biggest disappointment to me by far, because I had the highest expectations, and that's on me.
What he sold wasn't what he was.
Oh, no. No, and I will admit that I probably also projected a certain amount of leftism on him that probably could have easily been like I could have easily seen the truth if I really looked. But I do feel like the whole air of him was like a facade, and that there's no there, and that he just ended up just being, to me, he was Bill Clinton 2.0. And I don't know what I'm missing, but it was definitely more disappointing, because for me, I thought of all the people in recent years, he's the smartest person that has been there, the smartest. And so in my mind, the more capable of possibly helping and fixing the problems. Like W is an idiot.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any expectations of him doing anything. He was exactly the idiot I thought he would be. But Obama was definitely the biggest disappointment to me.
He's one of the best orators that we've ever had. I mean, back then, 2008 was special. I mean, we know it was a facade now, but there's something like everybody, a lot of the people who are voting for Trump now voted for Obama. People don't like to talk about that. They call them deplorables or whatever. A lot of those same areas voted for Obama. Everybody was like, it was a party when he was in 2008. 2012 was not as big as, it wasn't the same, but 2008 was special.
Yeah. Yeah. By the time he ran again in 12, I was already kind of disillusioned. That was the first time in my life as an adult that I did not work on a presidential campaign, was his 2012 campaign. Because for 2008, I was in every single election up to then, and I was just so not into it. And yeah, I voted for him, but I was just because, Mitt Romney, but I wasn't happy about it.
The ironic thing is, and yes, Jay is absolutely correct, that Obama decided that he wanted to be a rich man. That was his priority, and he is very rich today. But I will tell you, I think that there was a real chance that Romney was going to win in 2012, if not for the 47% comment that he got caught with. A lot of statistical data suggested that he was going to win. You never know, but it's obviously hindsight 2020 at this point. But the fact that he knows what a tragedy his own people are dealing with right now, and he's out there promoting one of the most corporatized nonprofits this country has ever seen. I mean, ever seen.
Yes, let's give a chunk to the Red Cross.
Things that Obama could do, this is what he chooses to do, and that is just sad. So, with that said, we know you got to run.
I'm very annoyed about how the Maui thing is happening.
Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about.
Crazy to me. Like, these are.
Hey, listen, man. When you're ready to have us, come back on your channel, just let us know.
Sure.
I mean, it's always a pleasure. Let people know how they can find you, follow your work.
He's middle MAGA.
Yes.
Yeah. I do believe MAGA is the most beautiful political movement ever, but I am somewhere between Steve Bannon and Peter and Jen. So that's why I'm middle MAGA. You can go to the website, middlemaga.com. I appreciate you.
And I believe we should just have it be MAG.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know if we could get that to carry on.
No,
I'm open.
I do think it's a good premise.
Yeah, and what she's saying is make America great without the connotation of again, where now you have to ask what do you mean again?
Especially for certain people.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
I'm Innocent Drummond, and I just want to come on here and let everybody know. Go to middlemaga.com. It's really great. He is totally making America great again.
Again.
And so, unfortunately, I've got a little bit of legal trouble right now.
You think?
It's weighing heavily on me.
Yeah, I can
4
tell.
times. But as you know, I always say, just keep indicting me, and eventually I'll be at 100% of the polls. That's what my goal is anyway. We totally want to take over.
Maybe you'll get indicted as many times as you've been sued.
Well,
by the way, that's 1,000. Donald Trump has been sued over 1,000 times.
That is correct. I've been sued over 1,000 times, but I've won every time. So it's
I want people to just wrap their heads around that. Like, I've never been sued ever.
I am the most persecuted person in the history of the world. They totally don't understand. It's because
you don't pay your bills. You don't pay your contractors and people sue you.
Listen, if you overcharge me, I'm just not going to pay any. That's the rule, and that will remain the rule. Remember, go to middlemaga.com and follow this wonderful American patriot. He's doing God's work. Believe me, I would know. See you all later.
Thanks so much for coming on, Osiris. It's always fun to talk to you. And by the way, my little project thing that we've talked about, that is still happening in a very different kind of manner, but we'll have to talk about it again at some point. Yes. It is still on the back burner, but it is coming up. Things are happening.
Well, great. Always great to be on with you. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Bye, Osiris.
See you, my friend.
Peace.
Good people.
We get along with everybody. That's the truth. We do.
Well, yes, just about.
Except for the people that don't get along with us.
That's all. But that's on them. That's their rules.
I get along with everybody.
You guys like our work? I think you do. I mean, why else wouldn't you be here?
Because if you didn't, you'd be watching the leftist mafia.
Make sure you go. Well, don't give them any ideas. That's not cool.
Everybody.
Go to Patreon. Well, there is somebody on the leftist mafia who we love very much.
The truth is, I don't dislike anybody on there. I don't have an issue with any of them. It's a little sad to me that we're competing with that many platforms at once, because that's a lot of power platforms.
There is a lot of them out there, but I think we do a good enough job. And our live stream numbers are not super strong, but our shorts are good. Our clips are good. We're growing, making a few bucks here and there. We're doing all those things. And if you guys want to throw us a few bucks, go to patreon.com/generational change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a wonderful supporter of our small but mighty channel. You know what you get if you decide to sign up. The Lulu sticker is as cute as can possibly be. For those who decide to become a $10 a month patron, we certainly appreciate that. The last match in parliamentarian bumper sticker. Yes, it is certainly possible that we could have 5 candidates running for president this year, including Joe Manchin on the No Labels Party ticket. We're still debating whether the parliamentarian will be his running mate, but
honestly, I'm the person that would endorse Cornell and Jesse. I would be the dual endorser. Who was it that time that did that? Rokana, when he endorsed.
Actually, I think somebody in the chat actually brought that up. I'm going to find that. And of course, for those who donate $25
I like both of those people
or more, you get yourself the Generational Change baseball jersey. As you can see, it is silky smooth, tri-blend. You know what I love. And you definitely want to get yourself one of these bags.
You know what? If I got to a general election ballot and it was Trump, Biden, Cornell, and Jesse, I really don't know. At this moment, I really don't know.
But that's actually a good thing.
Oh, it's a great thing. I'm not complaining. Well, okay, I can eliminate 2. Okay, let's say that. I can eliminate 2 right off the bat. Right. So I honestly, I am not sure on that. And I don't know that I would know until that moment. So I just got to wait and see. The truth is, I like both of those people very much. And I want both of them. And I also want to go with the best in terms of getting federal funding for a third party. Like, these are all important factors to me. So I don't know right now between that, but I do like both of those people very much.
Yes, and I think there was also somebody else who.
I'd love to see a Ventura West. That'll never happen.
So that would be a ticket.
That'll never happen.
It won't, though, unfortunately, because Cornell will not run the Libertarian.
No, he can't. Well, they wouldn't have him, and he wouldn't have them. He can't.
But healthy competition, if there ever was, and I think that that's something that a lot of people would definitely like to see.
I bet the two of them would get along really well. I bet they'd get along swimmingly. I bet that if there was a four-way debate, those two would be totally gentle to each other and would be very friendly.
Friend of the show, Willie Bragg, wants to know why not a Cornell West and Jesse Ventura ticket. I mean, again,
and Willie Bragg, I get your because he sends the emails to the show and then he forwards it to me. Just tell me what time you want me to come on your show. Yeah. Just seriously, just email me a couple of options. I'll pick one because it goes to him, then it goes to me. So just pick a couple of times.
I tell you, it is going to be. It will be a very interesting year for the general election, especially if Jesse gets in. If Jesse gets in, it's going to be a really interesting electoral year in 2024. Remember, you can also go to Cash App, $JenChange. And any amount there that you want to contribute is obviously very much appreciated.
It's helpful.
It is.
It's helpful. What do we have coming up?
We do not have anything scheduled as of yet for Monday or Thursday.
We are.
We do have a few shows scheduled out. We are going to have our friend from Case Study QB come back on September.
I was going to ask about him recently. I saw something.
He's been kicking ass.
He's been doing more because I started noticing him doing videos, whereas he didn't really put himself out on the videos as much. Like he was like a behind the scenes person.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been really solid. And then, of course, we are scheduled to have Ryan Grimm in exactly 2 weeks. He is going to be coming on to talk about his book. We're also hopefully in the process of scheduling our good friend Andrew Yang to come back and talk about his new book, The Last Election. I am enjoying it. I'm halfway through it already.
Good. And by the way, guys, interestingly enough, it's fiction. It's a novel.
It is, but I don't know how fiction.
It's a novel. Okay, it is not a non. So that's why Peter is reading this one, because normally I do most of the reading.
I'm not going to reveal anything too much about the book, but what I will say is I'm up to the part where basically he has the person who's playing the role of Tim Pool, which I find very, very funny, and that is exactly who he's.
So you're making it sound like a book version of Don't Look Up, but like they're taking like caricatures of real people.
That's 100%. 100%.
Well, I'd be very happy to talk to Andrew. I like him very much.
We certainly would like to have. I have been trying, and if anybody out there needs to poke at Max Alvarez, we really want to have him back on the show. It looks like
I don't know. We just text him.
I did, but
okay.
Just hasn't responded. If you wanted, can you text him?
I could try.
Please, because it looks like, it's not a guarantee, but it does look like the UAW workers might actually strike.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is pretty damn serious. I mean,
go UAW.
If UPS ain't gonna do it, then let UAW do it.
But now we still haven't really had the conversation either, the post UPS conversation, where we need to talk about what they actually really did get, because a lot of times they get offered something, they back down, and then what actually goes through is really garbage, and they end up sort of like blowing the opportunity. So I don't know what they ended up with. I don't know what the final deal was.
Agreed.
Do you?
I don't know what the final deal is because it hasn't been written in stone as of yet.
So they're still haven't exactly. So I am suspect until there is actually a good deal. I do know they got air conditioning. So that is definitely one thing that's in the right direction, but they need to do a lot better than that. So I don't know. And yeah, I would love to see the UPS workers strike and the UAW. I want all of them.
Off the rails. I will say this. If for whatever reason, Trump's legal circumstance really does derail his run to the presidency, I would put my money on Vivek in a minute.
That's their best option.
Mm-hmm.
That's their best option.
And he could win. Don't doubt for a second that he couldn't win.
Yeah, I actually think he could too.
Yeah.
He's not my candidate by any stretch.
If you want to get an idea of why he is such a threat, listen to the interview that he gave last night with Tucker Carlson. Just listen to the interview. One thing you could say about Tucker Carlson in his interviews, he lets the candidates talk. He lets them get their idea, unlike somebody like Bill Maher, who pretty much sucks all the air out of the room.
I find him unwatchable.
And I will say this. If you haven't seen the clips of Bill Maher talking to Marianne Williamson and him talking about just how out of touch he really is and totally missing the point about how bad things are, I'm not going to say that she did a whirlwind job of sticking it to him, but I will tell you, he completely exposed himself as an uber rich older guy who is totally out of touch, despite the fact he thinks he's with it or in touch, which he's not.
I think you're right, Metalopoly. I think Vivek's a much better candidate than Ron DeSantis at this point, for sure.
100%. I think.
And
that,
he also now doesn't have something that's like a draconian abortion ban under his belt that he has to be fending off around the country, where women are very displeased.
Yeah, if there's one thing that has been proven when it comes to the culture war, do not take away a woman's right to choose. You will pay for it.
Hey, did you see that meme or that video that someone put together that was the brawl on the Montgomery docks, and they put it together with the soundtrack of Good Times?
No.
And they did like a cast scroll, like with the people's names that were appearing in it, and it was like, and it's starring the white chair, and it was like this whole thing. But it was the soundtrack. I'll have to forward it to you. The soundtrack to Good Times while they're brawling, and it was so funny, and I was just loving it.
Makes sense.
And you saw that woman that did that thing, the Alabamian.
She's going. She's going away. She's going away.
Why? The woman that
wait.
did the video that they asked about. This woman did this video. It's gotten so many views, where she's sitting in the car eating, and she has this very Southern accent. And she's like, I don't know why y'all keep asking me about that thing in Montgomery, but is it because I'm an Alabamian, or is it because I also have a watercraft? Like, she just went into a whole thing, and she's like, you all got what you had coming. Like, she was just so funny, but very polite about it. Now, if you all gonna get up in my face, like, I don't know.
Kill him with kindness.
I do love that. I do like a good Southern accent.
Smash that like button, subscribe, share, do all those wonderful things that we ask you to do. Yes, it has been a very lively chat. We really appreciate you guys tuning in this evening, as
I
you
love
always
Jon
do.
Stewart, Miss Anonymous.
Yeah, Jon Stewart's one of the good ones.
I love Jon Stewart.
Love to have him on the show at some point.
We'd like to get Cornel West.
We're working on Cornell. We're working on RFK. We're working on a lot of people.
It's not easy because we are small.
You guys got to help us. You got to throw the word out there.
Yeah, we're small, so it's not like, it's not like we're at the top of their list.
No, but we're going to change that. Appreciate you all. We'll see you Monday.